Well, let's stick with this shipping story and talk now to Robert Koopman, her senior professional lecturer in governance at American University in Washington and a former chief economist at the World Trade Organization. Robert, welcome. Good to see you. Well, we're approaching a critical time for shipping, otherwise known to you and me as Christmas and Thanksgiving. How serious do you think this is?
Well, it's going to depend, Jamie, on how long it lasts. So if it lasts just a couple of weeks, I don't think we'll see very much disruption at all. Another thing to keep in mind is that many large firms had already shipped in significant inventories. You could see it in the port statistics, significant surge in imports over the last couple of months. So firms were preparing for this strike. The sad part is that smaller firms and goods that are fresh, agricultural food products, those are much more difficult to adapt and adjust to. So I think much is going to depend on how long it lasts. The longer it lasts, the more disruption there's going to be. I don't think that it's going to have significant impacts on availability unless consumers overreact. And I think we just heard that maybe some consumers are going out there and buying things right now when there's plenty of it available. And markets work really well at shifting things around. Firms are very nimble. They don't like to deal with this kind of uncertainty, but they work hard to find ways to fill the store stocks. Things like water and toilet paper. Toilet paper is mainly made in the United States, so that's not anything coming through shipping. The other thing to keep in mind is that gas and petroleum products are not affected by this particular strike, okay? So those bulk good things are still being shipped.
Robert, forgive my ignorance of the logistics industry, but if the East Coast and Gulf Coast ports are affected, can a shipper simply reroute to collect and deliver goods elsewhere to unaffected ports?
There can be some of that. The West Coast ports are operating at pretty full capacity, so it's going to be hard for them to slot in more ships. It takes a while for those ships to get through there, and there's issues with the Panama Canal having low water levels. And it's costly and time-consuming to reroute ships down past the tip of South America. So there's some availability there. What you'd most likely see is the inventory buildup that I talked about, and some other products probably shifting to air, which is more expensive, or going up to Canadian ports and maybe coming in on trucks through there. There is some ability to shift those ports, and keep in mind these are container ships. It's not the other kinds of ships that are being affected by the strike.
And presumably there are two fixes here. One is negotiating a deal, and two is automation, as our correspondent was suggesting. Automation easier said than done.
Yeah, well, it's easy to do. It may not be so easy to get past the union negotiators with that. You look at the rankings of U.S. ports, and they rank pretty low in efficiency. And that's because, as your correspondent was saying, we haven't automated our ports anywhere near as much as many, like Rotterdam is one of the first ports in the world to automate, and most of the Asian ports are highly automated. I visited those ports. They are amazingly efficient. And our ports are much less efficient. And this technology versus worker trade-off is something we're going to see in many industries, but this particular industry, the unions made it a point. What that means is it's higher cost, it's slower to bring things into the United States, the world's largest importer, and there is a real need to automate our ports more. So that tension there is going to be a very interesting source of tension to watch through these negotiations.
Robert, keep in touch. I'm sure we'll return to this in coming days. Robert Koopman, her senior professional lecturer in governance at the American University in Washington.